Hey guys, it's Danny, and for today's food for thought, I wanted to chat with you guys about how I lost 8 pounds in a 2-week visit to Italy. Now, let me just clarify that this was many years ago. I was 24 years old, and prior to that, I had really struggled with my weight and dieting and going up and down. I was constantly on a diet, going back and forth. So the reason that this video came to mind is because recently, last week, not sure if you saw it, but in the New York Post, I had an article done on myself and on my YouTube channel, Clean and Delicious, and it kind of talked a lot about my background and why I do what I'm doing now. Now, the article was called Dieting Made Me Fat, which is funny, but it is also true. And I could tell you guys about that in another video if it's something you're interested in. But in the article, it does talk about this trip to Italy being a pinnacle in my shift, where I started to kind of get out of that dieting mentality and start to lose the weight that I had struggled with for a long time, because I always lost and gained, and I would say at my highest, I was about 30 pounds more than I am now. So when I reflect back to my trip to Italy, I have to say, number one, that the weight that I lost while I was there was completely effortless. It was the easiest 8 pounds I had ever lost in my life. And when I think back to what was happening in Italy that was different than my day-to-day life back in New Jersey, these are the things that I come up with. Now, number one, we were eating 3 meals a day. We were not snacking. You ate at mealtime and then you didn't eat between. So 3 meals a day. That was the first thing that was different. Number two, all of the food was home-cooked, real, whole food. Even if you were at a restaurant, you could tell there was a lot of love and intention put into that food. I mean, we were in Italy, so we all know the food is so amazing. So all the food was home cooked. So I couldn't eat any of the diet foods that I was eating in my regular life, because back in those days, everything was like the fat-free phase. So I bought a lot of packaged food, a lot of processed foods, a lot of foods that marketed themselves as healthy food. In Italy, it was just real whole food. So I was really going back to the basics of food. A lot of like how we cook now in the Clean and Delicious kitchen. The next thing that stands out in my mind is that when we did eat, it was always a very relaxed, enjoyable, pleasurable experience. It was social, we took our time, we really enjoyed mealtime. Very different than the way I was eating at home. Everything was always in a rush, I was always on the go, you know, very much like I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this in your lives right now. I know even for me right now, because I have 2 little kids, how many times I'm standing at the counter when I'm eating or I'm running out the door, and we tend to be more rushed and on the go, go, go. So just bringing that practice of slowing down around mealtime, that really stands out in my mind. Now, the fourth thing I do think is probably the biggest difference, and that is I couldn't be on some weird, crazy diet while I was in Italy, because we were with a group of people and we were traveling around Italy, and I just had to kind of go with the flow. I had to be in Rome, if you will. I had to eat what I was being served. And so what that forced me to do was to be more mindful. I had to connect to my body and how my body was feeling about food, because I couldn't be in my head with all the diet rules I was so busy doing, right? Because when you're a dieter, what you do is you think about what you're supposed to be eating and what time you're supposed to be eating, and you're thinking about the way it's supposed to be, what's supposedly healthy, but you're not actually connecting to yourself and your body, right? You're following rules, at least that's what I did, and you're not connecting. So because I wasn't on a diet, I couldn't be following some specific diet and choosing the foods I was eating. It forced me to become more mindful and connect to my body and feel how I was feeling. And I feel like that was probably one of the biggest changes and one of the biggest aha moments for me while I was on that trip to Italy. And then the fifth thing that we did is we were just living very actively. I mean, everywhere we went, we walked, we did a lot of hiking when we were there. So we were just very active in our time there. So we weren't being sedentary, we weren't sitting around watching TV or anything like that. We were on the move. So it's really interesting to me, because in that 2-week period, I had lost 8 pounds, and it really started to change the momentum of the way I was eating, because then when I came back to the States, I started practicing more, being more mindful, and started to think about those things I picked up while I was in Italy. But the thing that strikes me the most interesting is then I went on to study, you know, integrative nutrition and eating psychology, and these very principles are a lot of the principles that they teach. They're, you know, I've said this to you guys before, being healthy or reaching our health or weight loss goals, it's not always about just the food that we're eating. It's about how we're eating the food. Are you chewing your food? Are you relaxed and allowing the body to assimilate and metabolize the food that you're eating? Are you receiving pleasure from the food? Are you eating the food with people you enjoy? Is the food real food? Is it homemade food? Are you cooking your food? All of these things play a role in our health, and especially if you have a weight loss goal or any type of health goal, quite honestly. So I just think it's really interesting, and I really wanted to share some of those points with you. Somebody on Facebook or on Instagram saw the article and they said, Danny, can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because I've been wanting to go to Italy forever, but I'm afraid if I go to Italy, I'm gonna gain weight. So she was curious to know my personal experience. And I thought, hey, you know what? That'd be a great question to bring onto a food for thought and share with all of you. So now I am curious to know, does any of that resonate with you? Have any of you ever had an experience like that before, where maybe you've gone on a vacation and you were more relaxed and more, you know, chill, and you found that when you came back from vacation, you lost a few pounds, even though you were more indulgent than you usually are in your day-to-day life? Any thoughts, questions, comments, come on down below. Let's chat down there. And then I will see you guys back here next time with some more food for thought. Bye-bye. Don't put the bye-bye in there. Bye-bye.